Sometimes you want to just grab a camera and go out and take pictures. You don't want to be bothered with all the microphone stuff and setting all this up and setting that up and setting the balance, the colour, the blah, 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 it goes on and on. Sometimes you just want to go out and take pictures, and that's what I'm going to be doing with the Osmo Action. There's something really nice about taking a tiny little camera like this. This is the Osmo Action. Just putting it in your pocket and going out for a walk or whatever, or going somewhere and taking this out. I must admit, a lot of my restaurant shots and things where there are people close by are taken with this kind of thing, where I just surreptitiously get the camera out and start taking shots. People don't notice you, and there's something really lovely about being able to do that. The only thing is because it's such a small setup, you're going to have to rely on the internal microphones. There's a lot of things you can do with that though. The thing is, you can disguise noise if you know how to with an editor. And so therefore, you've got a fantastic, tiny, miniature little setup that picks up reasonable sound and certainly takes good pictures. Something that a lot of people don't take into account is when you're outside, there's actually a lot more noise than you think. The ambience, trees, wind, whatever, there is lots of sounds going on, and actually those sounds cover up the noise of the microphone anyway inside the camera. I also record ambience, sometimes on the camera, and sometimes I'll use a recorder, whatever, just to pick up ambience, and that disguises noise as well. So I'm off for a walk with my trusty Osmo Action in my pocket. No tripod, no microphone, just a naked Osmo Action. Let's see what it's like. So I've come out just using the camera, so there's no microphone attached, nothing going on. There's some kids in the background, it's probably picking them up as well. I might do a little bit of recording of ambience just to shove on afterwards in post maybe, but at the moment it's up and down in light and the wind is sort of gusting every now and then, so I'm trying to find quiet places where the wind doesn't hit to try and record audio. The thing is, if you're going to be recording audio outside and you've got no wind protection, then obviously you've just got to look for the quietest spots, or else you're just asking for trouble. So if you're outdoors with just a microphone and nothing else on the camera, then look for the quiet spots where there's no wind. There's a load of bird song at this point here, so what I'm going to do now is get my recorder out and just take some of this bird song in case I can use it for ambience. Okay, well, I've taken a little bit of ambience, and hopefully this is picking me up from the rear. The nice thing about this microphone is it probably will pick me up from the rear pretty well, unlike shotgun microphones. A lot of rubbish here, someone's shed I think. Oh yeah, it looks like someone's workshop. It's at the back of the houses. There's some houses on the other side of these sheds, and this looks like it's some kind of workshop. Quite a lot of workshops out here actually. Now, to take these pictures, what I've done is, before I went out, I looked at the weather, just ducking through these trees, and I'm going to take the filter off now. Let's try taking the filter off. Okay, so I've taken the filter off and it's brightened me up, as you can see. You see? So what I've done, before I came out, I looked at the weather and it was going sunny and the sun was going behind clouds. So what I decided to do was put an ND filter on. There's my ND filter. And I thought, well, okay, I'll get this right. So I set it up on manual for 1/100th of a second because I'm using 50 frames a second, and once I'd set it up on manual, I thought that's okay for the sunshine. I set the camera back to auto and let the camera now play around with what it's going to do as far as the shutter goes and the ISO goes, so that it gets a correct exposure, but it doesn't let that shutter go too fast. I've set the maximum ISO to 400, and then of course when I'm in sort of conditions like this where I'm in trees, just take the filter off and I've got a brighter picture. Of course if I put it back it'll go dull again, and there you go. I'll put the filter back on and it's become a little bit duller. So when you go into shade, what you've got to do is pull the filter off, because these are magnetic, which is rather nice. So in this section what I've got is, I'm in the shade of course under the trees, and I'm in a load of twigs and everything, but out the back there is sunlit land as well. So you can see it's quite a contrast range going on. I'm using a standard profile. I'm not in a posh profile or anything like that for the action, but as you can see, it copes pretty well. At the moment I haven't got the filter on because I'm in the shade, but once I get into that sunshine I'll just pop the filter back on again just to keep that shutter down. The only thing I do find with the Osmo Action is this thing with the close focus. It doesn't focus quite as close as a GoPro, and therefore if you're taking shots like this at the end of your hand, it can look a little bit on the edge of going out of focus. Sometimes I try sharpening that up, but it can be a little bit dodgy. By the way, at the moment, because the sun's gone behind clouds and I'm in a shady area under trees, I've taken the filter off again, and I've got nothing on the lens. It's just the lens without any sort of form of cap on it, so that's what it looks like. It takes a good picture, this camera, but unfortunately this close focus can be a little bit difficult. You have to be careful with it. Do you know, there are lots of areas like this around here where people really just don't go because they're so isolated, and there are no paths, it's just trees, but they're very dense. And it's unusual really, because a lot of English countryside has been cut away, and we don't have trees so densely packed together, which is rather nice to have on my doorstep. But in here, I reckon if the sun goes down, it'll be a bit spooky to say the least. There's no paths, nothing here, but it is open land. We're allowed to come out here. It's beautiful. There's just one thing you've got to be really careful of though when you come out here, is that you don't get lost. There are no landmarks, and it's very easy to just walk around and end up going in circles and getting nowhere fast, because there are no landmarks, nothing to find your way around. So you've got to be very careful if you come out here. There is one bird that we actually see sometimes out here, and it's called a goshawk. It's related to a sparrowhawk. And what they do is they zip between trees, and there's a zipway there. There is one that lives around here. And if you look down there past the leaves, down to, let me point it out to there, down there, the goshawk would zip through there, and they can really target spaces, small spaces, and go zipping through. And there has been one down here. Often hear him screeching. I think you could make a few spooky films out here, to be honest. Blair Witch Part 2. Would you believe it? Having mentioned the goshawk, I've just heard him calling, and I can't see him, but he's in the distance somewhere, over the back of the trees, over the back there, right behind. I think there's an open field, and I think he's over there somewhere. Go and have a look and see if he's there. And this is exactly what I was describing earlier. You can go walking looking for something like a goshawk or something like that, and find yourself lost and not knowing the way home. You've got to be so careful of that out here. So there's the field. Let's have a look and see. I think it's there. Let's have a look. I heard him going. Oh, it's not a field, it's someone's garden. So doesn't look like he's going to be in there, because you probably see people. Brambles and everything all over the place. Got to be careful of these. These are down here. These are rather nasty. They'll cut you to smithereens. And the brambles here, very, very sharp. Don't know if I want to go on really, but I reckon he's through there somewhere. So sorry about that. I thought we'd be able to have seen a goshawk there because I heard him going. But now I've got to find my way back again. And as luck would have it, there's actually a path made out here by the trees, which is quite unusual. It's almost French looking. I'll show you. I don't know how well that's showing on video, but the trees are all in a line here, so it denotes that these trees have been planted. So therefore we've got a little pathway here. It's a pity they didn't actually make it into a pathway properly, because it's very muddy when it rains and you can't really come out here, but that's been done a long time ago. And because I live in a small village, what happened in the old days a long time ago, so I'm keeping under these trees, was that people here would go down to the market at the local town. And way back, the local town was Edenbridge, and I'm in Crockham Hill, which is a tiny little village. So I'm guessing that people would have put these trees here and made paths that led directly to Edenbridge. Certainly if you go over the fields back and beyond there, there are paths out there that do go to Edenbridge. So these are the sort of like the trading routes for the local yokels. And up there is my way out. So that's it. That's the way I can get out of this place. Pity the goshawk didn't come out actually. He probably heard me, because I'm a bit noisy with the crackling of the twigs. But you've got to be so careful not to get lost in these places, or else you end up going in circles and never getting out. So what I did this time is I brought the Zoom H1N with me to record some ambience because it's a little bit windy, and I thought, well, okay, if it's too windy or I've got noise on the microphones, I can easily replace it with my ambient sounds. So it's always useful, if you can, to record some ambience either on the camera or do it on a recorder. So now I'm going to go over for a cup of tea. And here's the way out, and I'm saved myself from walking in circles in the woods. By the way, I've got the filter off at the moment because the sun has gone behind the clouds, and the nice thing with these Polar Pro filters is these things just come off because they're magnetically connected, so you just pull them off and off you go. 2 seconds and you're off. It's no big deal. And also put the filter back and it protects the lens, so you get a nice clear picture when you take it off because you haven't even got the cover on, which is rather nice. So I'm coming out into clearing, and that's my way home. Back through the gate. Close the gate just in case anything wants to get out. Do you think that was in focus? Doubt it. Okay, and home.
If you're able to edit audio, then you're perfectly able to make a reasonable job of sorting out the audio straight from the camera, as long as you don't try to record in really quiet locations. So if you're sitting in quiet places and recording, the self-noise of the camera, the microphone, is going to be much more obvious, and you have to do a lot more drastic things to stop that down.
So just for a demo, I'm doing this recording indoors with no sound around me, and now I'm going to edit the sound. So just for a demo, I'm doing this recording indoors with no sound around me, and now I'm going to edit the sound.
A bit of fun, went for a walk, took some pictures, had a laugh. Hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.